No matter what they're called, bounce checks, non-sufficient funds, or NSF checks, rubber checks, these checks aren't fun to deal with at all. And this video will show you how to fix the situation in QuickBooks. To follow along, open the file called Blendworks_banking tasks. So you've got a check from a customer that bounced. You're probably a bit miffed, and your customer is probably embarrassed. In any event, you need to do a few things in QuickBooks to handle bounced checks. You have to create 2 other charge items to use for this bounce check and any future bounced checks. One item to remove the amount of the check from your account, and another item for the service charges. Once those items are set up, you'll need to re-invoice the customer and include the service charge. Finally, you'll need to enter the fees the bank charged you in your account register. Okay, so let's create the items. Click Items and Services. In the item list, press Ctrl-N to open the new item window. And choose Other Charge. This first item will be for the bad check amount, so let's type bad check. And don't enter an amount or percentage, and choose None for the tax code. For the account, choose the account you use for depositing checks, so click Checking. And now we'll create the item for the fees, so click Next. And in the item name number field, type bad check fees. Leave the amount and tax code as they are, and for the account, choose the expense account you use to track bank service charges. If you also wanted to charge an additional amount to the customer for your pain and suffering, you would create a third other charge item. But check with your accountant first, because charging the customer extra could be illegal in your state. So we're done here. Let's click OK and close the item list. Now we can re-invoice the customer. Click Create Invoices. And from the Customer Job menu, choose the customer, which was Rick Jones. Click in the Date field and choose January 31st as the date. In the line item area, choose the item you just created for bad checks. Click in the amount field and type the amount of the check that bounced. That was $647.64. In the next line, choose the item you created for the fees. And QuickBooks warns you that this is an expense account, but that's okay in this situation. So go ahead and click OK. And in the amount field, type the amount of the bank fees, which was $30. Okay, we're done with that. Click Save and Close. Your bank charged you a fee for the hassle of the bounced check, so you'll need to record that fee in your bank account. And the fastest way to do this is through the account register. So click Check Register and click OK for checking. And you may notice here, this is the invoice you just created. When you created the bad check item, you associated it with your checking account. So when you use the item on an invoice, QuickBooks reduces your checking account by the amount of the bad check, and it appears as a payment. And the new invoice puts the bad check amount, along with the service charge, into your accounts receivable. Now, onto the bank fees. So choose the date that your bank actually charged you the fees, and that was, in this case, January 25th. Leave the number and payee blank, and in the payment field, type 30. Now, to assign the account, click the Splits button and choose the Bank Service Charges Expense account. The memo is optional. For example, you could type the check number of the check that bounced, but we'll leave it blank. And in the Customer Job field, choose the customer who wrote the bad check. And QuickBooks puts a check mark in the billable column, but click it to remove the check mark, because you already billed the customer for the charge when you re-invoiced. Okay, we can record this. So click record and close the checking account register. Well, that's it for bounced checks. Hopefully this won't happen to you often.